Being a Pokemon fan these days is like getting roundhouse kicked in the neck every single time Nintendo announces their next announcement for the flagship series. I still remember leaving Pallet Town with my Pikachu in Pokemon Yellow, immediately capturing Nidoran Boy and making him my starter over Pikachu. I remember having a link cable and battling kids during recess to win Pokemon from them, and battling online in Pokemon Diamond to face people all over the world. What a time to be alive back then, and it was all free, you just needed to own the game. Now with Pokemon Champions, Nintendo went, what if we made a dedicated platform that was meant for Pokemon fans to battle each other, but we did everything possible to make it as miserable as we can. This, my dear viewer, is Pokemon Champions, the latest sludge-filled dropping from the anus of Nintendo for modern Pokemon fans. You see, in Pokemon Champions, you can battle anyone around the world using either your Pokemon that you've caught tirelessly over many different games via the app known as Pokemon Home. Or that would be the case if Nintendo actually cared to beta test their Pokemon releases, as Game Rant says it here. You see, Pokemon Champions is going so well that there's already currently a massive bug that actually deletes your Pokemon you captured and trained over years in your home app. So thank you, Nintendo and Game Freak. Again, you always find a new way to kick me in the balls. Like, seriously, I don't know how you guys do it, but you did it again. You sure did, as this user says here. Yeah, Nintendo didn't beta test Champions enough, clearly, so those Pokemon you grinded so that you could use them in Champions? Yeah, sorry, but they're just kind of lost in the vastness of the internet now, because Game Freak really doesn't care about quality assurance. Nintendo's official response to this, as you can see here highlighted, is just, oh, you just need to, delete everything, like all of it. Pokemon Home, even Champions, clear cache even, and then re-download everything again. I mean, sure, that might not even fix it really, but that's the best we got. Thanks again for spending so much money on our franchise, by the way. We really do care about your player experience because, remember, Pokemon Champions is free to play. Oh, that's great. Oh, of course there's some red tape over that free-to-play moniker, really? What's all that about then? Well, you see, while Pokemon Champions might be free-to-play, it also touts itself as not being pay to win, which is, well, kind of not really true, actually. You see, Pokemon Champions lets you capture one Pokemon per day for free within the game. You don't actually keep this Pokemon, though, because of course you don't. It's more like it's being rented, if you will. You then need to spend your points in-game, which can be collected via daily quests and stuff like use this type of Pokemon move, let's say Fire or Psychic 5 times. Win a battle online, you get the idea. Typical live service daily quest stuff. And then by doing these quests, you get your points, and then you can use them to unlock that Pokemon that you have permanently now. Assuming that the game doesn't just delete your entire team, because it's not working as intended at launch. But ignore that. Look, it's Pikachu. You know Pikachu, right? Isn't that little guy so cute? Just ignore all of these problems. But also, Pokemon Champions, of course, has a paid tier as well. Did I mention Champions has a battle pass? Oh, right, yeah, so Champions has a battle pass, as you can see here. So the battle pass is kind of what you would expect. It has a free and a paid tier, and you unlock things by progressing through it, obviously. From gaining exclusive Pokemon to tickets and more to use in Champions. So the first 30 tiers of the battle pass is where you're going to get most of the unique stuff like exclusive clothing for your trainer, those Pokemon that I mentioned, and stuff like Mega Evolution Stones. After that, you get bonus VP. VP is the name of the point system in Champions. Weird that they kind of front-loaded the battle pass with what you want first, but I don't know, that's what they did. But anyways. Alright then, so this battle pass is about $10 American per season, but don't forget, there's also the starter bundle pack 2, which retails for $7 American. That starter bundle also gives you tickets to use in-game for better rewards, and also gives you more slots to hold more Pokemon in Champions too. Oh, did I forget to mention that one? Yeah. So you see, Pokemon Champions, they have a finite number of open slots that you can use to hold your Pokemon in the actual game itself. It's not a limitation really because of server bandwidth or like space or anything. No. You see, Nintendo could give you more space to hold your precious Pokemon, but why would they do that? You gotta pay up first. So the base version of Champions that you can just get right now, that only gives you 30 slots of Pokemon to have at one time in the game, which isn't a lot considering there's now over 1,000 different Pokemon that exist now, not to mention all the variants that you can use the same Pokemon depending on like nature and movesets and all that too. But if you buy the starter pack, you can upgrade your slots to a staggering 80 slots available. Wow, that's still not a lot. So you have to pay to have objectively more options and variety to now counter enemy teams, which means in a sense, actually, yes, this is sort of pay to win, but hold your ponytas there, guys. It gets even worse. You see, there's also a Champions membership option. Think of this kind of like Fortnite crew. You know how you can pay monthly in Fortnite to get all the battle passes and the bonus stuff and the V-Bucks and all that? It's like that pretty much, but it's Pokemon now, and also technically worse too. Anyways, if you pay for this membership option, which is $5 American a month or $50 a year, you get 1,000 slots, which definitely puts you at a severe advantage over the 30 free slots. I mean, that can't even be denied. But you'll also have access to 15 whole battle team slots. Did I mention your battle teams are also finite unless you pay more? Surprise, they got you again. And you also get exclusive music from previous Pokemon games to play in your champion battles. And you get exclusive missions too, which also puts you at an advantage over the free version, go figure. So basically, if you have the money to burn, I mean, you're objectively at a massive advantage over somebody who just plays the game as a free-to-play. Remember how I said those free Pokemon you get every day can be made permanent and all that? Well, if you play free, sure, it will take you a whole day and then some to officially obtain one single Pokemon, but if you pay, like I just said, you can now get more free Pokemon faster and more often. Go figure. It's almost as if this game is kind of pay to win in certain aspects. I mean, not all, sure, you still need to spend your VC points to buy items for battle like berries or other items, but the point still stands. And it's extra scummy because, I mean, come on, guys, this is Pokemon. It's mostly going to be played by children and, 30-year-old men, so naturally, this is going to create somewhat of a divide, but why does this game exist in the first place, I hear you ask? Well, pretty much Nintendo wants Champions to be the de facto spot where everyone, regardless of Pokemon game or skill, has a dedicated platform where they can all just battle by using all the Pokemon they obtain from all the other games. On paper, it's a genius idea because it allows for a dedicated evergreen platform solely focused on Pokemon battles. There's even ranks that are labeled like Pokeball, Great Ball, all the way up to Master Ball, and then there's a rank above all that too. And you level ranks by winning games, obviously. You also gain experience from losing. However, the only mode that gives that VC point stuff after battles, as of this video being made anyways, is the ranked mode. There's no VC to gain from winning or losing casual battles, and if you're like wondering, well, how can I play Champions offline? Well, absolutely not. That's impossible. This is a live service game, always online kind of thing, so no, which yes, kind of goes against what the Switch 2 is meant for, since you're meant to carry it with you and use it wherever you go. I guess you could use McDonald's Wi-Fi or a hotspot on your phone, but either way, yep, it's always online. Oh yeah, it also has 0 single-player content, and let me ask you another question. When you think of Pokemon battles, what format do you think is a standard here? 2v2 or 3v3? No, of course not. You probably think that the standard Pokemon setup, right, is 6 Pokemon on my team versus 6 on your team, because that's how it's always been. Yeah, you're right, but that's also not here, because it turns out Nintendo just doesn't allow for 6v6 standard battles in Pokemon Champions at all, which seems very weird to me considering that this is meant to be the primary platform for battles, yet the most standard of battle structures is just not available, at least not yet anyways, which is very odd. Instead, 3v3 is the standard. Maybe this is to make battles feel faster and tighter so that they end quicker, but yeah, that's what they did. It doesn't end there though, because for a game meant to be the gold standard for the biggest IP in the world when it comes to competitive gameplay, it's puzzling just how much is missing here, dude. Like, for example, right, a lot of competitive items just don't exist in this game right now. Rental teams as well are mostly not the best call because if you have access to home, you will have what you pretty much need already. Another weird omission is that you also can't access your Switch friends list like either in-game. Instead, you need to now re-add everyone you know in the game to play against them even though they're already on your Switch. And the game also has some pretty bad performance problems, slow UI in general, and its animations are just getting cooked on Twitter because of the surprise of nobody. Well, because Nintendo and Game Freak, they phoned it in again. At this point, you shouldn't really expect anything when it comes to Pokemon, yet Nintendo will still find a way to ruin it anyways. You know it's kind of bad when Pokemon Stadium had more content, as this user said here? Pokemon Stadium 2 ran on an N64 in the year 2000 with more Pokemon, 6v6, offline play, and local multiplayer, 26 years of hardware progress to ship a downgrade. I mean, they're right, whether that stings or not, it's true. Oh, did I also mention that it's locked at 30 FPS? Because it is. Like, yeah, I know. Like, I think what this user said explains it perfectly. Where Pokopia just came out and did numbers for Nintendo and was a game that had really deep mechanics, and then there's Champions, which is just kind of laughably not it. Forbes, however, reported, as you can see here, that Champions has actually already wiped out all the goodwill that Pokopia just gave Nintendo when it came to the Pokemon brand in kind of record time. I mean, look at what Forbes reported here, okay? Pokopia did so well for Nintendo both critically and commercially that it raised their stock, sold 2 million copies in 4 days, and did very well, all things considered. Then here comes Champions, and Nintendo's stock just closed in at its lowest in a month, so since Pokopia released, basically. So the moment Champions undid what Pokopia made for them, again, why does this keep happening? And you know things are bad when Kotaku, is seen here, fires back in Nintendo that Champions launch is a mess and is basically so underwhelming that it's falsely being advertised for what it's also meant to deliver. You know how bad things need to be? That I, of all people, am now agreeing with Kotaku on something? As Kotaku says here, they claim the game is already a failed experiment and that its limitations hold back what should otherwise be a slam dunk for Nintendo and Game Freak. Things ended up getting so bad that Joe Merrick, is seen here, who's the founder of Cerebi.net, which is the biggest Pokemon database website on the planet, even admits that competitive play should just be kept on Scarlet and Violet until Winds and Waves comes out because Champions will just destroy the competitive scene otherwise. And since there's just over 1,000 Pokemon now, the exact number that Champions allows you to play with is 186 Pokemon. Here's the full list of day one Pokemon available on Champions, as you can see here. There's some usual suspects, sure, but a lot of Pokemon are missing, especially the newer ones, which makes actually less sense, since those are the more recent ones that players have been using themselves, which again, makes this not make a lot of sense to me, I gotta be real. Bizarrely also, it's mostly evolved Pokemon besides Pikachu, of course, and another weird omission is that certain Pokemon that are available in Champions that do have Mega Evolutions are not even able to Mega Evolve in the game, despite Nintendo advertising the game as having those as an option. One glaring example of this is Raichu, as this user on Twitter said here, that Mega Raichu is shown in the literal trailer, yet they're not available in the game, which makes even less sense because Mega Raichu Y and X are from that paid expansion for Pokemon Legends ZA, which was $30 American. So the Mega Evolutions, which were a big selling point for ZA that you paid to use, are not allowed to be usable in Champions, which just came out. Sure, maybe eventually they will be, but why would you add Raichu to the 186 launch Pokemon list and not give them the option to Mega Evolve knowing that they can? You're just going to be putting Raichu users at a disadvantage while other Pokemon have both their Mega Stones and themselves in the game too. Meaning Raichu is effectively pointless to use as of right now. That is false advertising, by the way, and it just is. It's like me saying that there's PewDiePie in this video or something and then I never show him. Yeah, you would be annoyed too. Same thing. Here's more false advertising, as this user pointed out too. So Nintendo also showed various Pokemon holding certain battle items in the trailer. Yeah, not all of these are actually available at launch either. So again, why show these at all? Why set an expectation that you can't meet day one, as this user friend then says? Many widely used battle items cannot be used in Champions. There's a small pool of Pokemon to choose from, and the Switch 2 version is still low resolution and locked at 30 frames per second despite being on a stronger piece of hardware over the Switch 1, obviously. It's just a mess, dude, but again, Nintendo doesn't really care because the faceless hordes of Nintendo fans out here are going to buy a day one for that battle pass. And the membership, all of it, no matter what, which means Nintendo just basically launched a bare bones live service platform that they can now nickel and dime their insanely huge player base for the rest of time, and as long as they add the bare minimum in a timely manner, people will just keep using it. Because did I forget to mention that Champion's other big reason for existing is that it is being deemed the default platform for official Pokemon battling, as in championships, and all that too. What a genius way to strong arm literally everybody and pulling them into the same bowl there, Nintendo. You basically gave no one an option if they want to compete in some other way. It's now either everybody accepts your slop or you're left out in the cold. What an insane way to do it, but that's Nintendo and Game Freak for you. But that's not even the only thing. Champions is also very, very buggy right now, as this user shows in this now viral clip. Please watch this. So in case you were confused as to what just happened, so the user who posted this clip said, as you can see here, that their Dragapult had Dragon Fang on, not Focus Sash. And what Focus Sash does is that if you have full HP and you get hit and you should have been knocked out, that sash gets used and you are now left with 1 HP. Yet his Dragapult, which wasn't even attacked here, suddenly also used Focus Sash despite not only having full HP but also not even having that item equipped in the first place. This means that his Dragapult having Dragon Fang, which is an item you hold to power up your Dragon-type moves, was likely not even being registered by Nintendo's servers during this battle, meaning that none of this was going the way that it was supposed to at all. And again, need I remind you that this is meant to be the main platform going forward for Pokemon Championships from Nintendo officially. So yeah, these sorts of problems can't really exist for very obvious reasons. Like imagine you're able to knock out your opponent and win, and then randomly the game just says, oh yeah, they used the citrus berry and healed HP suddenly. Oh, they didn't even have it equipped. Well, whoops. Like, that can't be something that players have to be prepared for. And I can actually prove that too, because here's another clip where, well, here, just watch it and then tell me what you think is wrong here, okay? Watch this clip. So in case you didn't get it, Melodic there gets hit by Blastoise, right? They're reduced to 1 HP. They then use Haze, and by the way, Haze does not heal you at all. It instead removes the stat bonuses across the board. Yet weirdly, as you saw, a glitch happens where suddenly Blastoise's attack doesn't count. He also then loses his turn because he just acted obviously, and now Melodic has full HP as if nothing even happened in the first place. Meaning the player with Blastoise is now left at a disadvantage and now Melodic gets a free hit in. Like imagine this happening in a championship battle. Like are we being serious right now? This can't be happening, dude. Like what a mess, but this is what I mean. Nintendo is clearly not testing these games because how are they able to make a Pokemon battler game function worse than like what existed on the N64, like the Game Boy even back in the day? But that's what I mean. Nintendo is just unable to care about the state of Pokemon because they know people will eat it up regardless. And you're gonna have a lot of comments from people defending Nintendo saying that it's too early to judge the game and they need to give Game Freak a break. They're giving heavy leave the multi-billion-dollar company alone meme vibes a lot here, I gotta be real. Because why defend something that is clearly not finished and ready to be used properly? Like Nintendo used to have a seal of quality approval back in the day because it used to mean something. Now we're getting underbaked slop like champions. Like the only silver lining here is that it's free, but again, you kind of do need to pay something if you want any actual advantage at all here. Which means the likely scenario is a lot of paid users will curb stomp the free ones, which is not a good look either. Honestly, Champions just looks like another bad step of how far this series has drifted from what it used to be like, man. And this pattern just feels painfully familiar to any Pokemon fan. Like Pokemon used to be this magical thing, right? A grand adventure. And the excitement of like building up your team, but now instead of pushing these cool new ideas like they used to, Nintendo and Game Freak are kind of just focused on safe monetization and keeping the brand profitable over innovative like stuff and like or even being like functional at this point even. Like Champions is the clearest example of this yet because it should have been this game that has the modern competitive hub that people have wanted for years. With all the variants of the battles available, right? 6v6, 2v2, 3v2, 2v, whatever it is, right? A true successor to Pokemon Stadium Battle Revolution, that was the point. Instead, all I'm seeing is red flags. Like a lot of people don't like how the game is heavily monetized with the free-to-play elements and all of that. And look, I get that. Those systems aren't inherently bad. And again, since the game is free-to-play, it does allow Nintendo to get away with this stuff. But if Champions was like $30 or something, like this would be a legit catastrophe. But they have that free part to lean on heavily here to just sway away any of this nonsense. But it seems more like Nintendo is focused on the design philosophy of their monetization over what matters here, which is the battling. So it doesn't bode well for future Pokemon releases because Pokemon was built on its simple, timeless gameplay, not forever ecosystems, right, that are meant to nickel and dime you, you know? I mean, Violet and Scarlet were messes at launch too. There were visual glitches everywhere. There's pop-ins and like pretty much and frame rate drops aplenty. Yet, because despite all of that being a problem, those games still sold incredibly well, right? And with the technical shortcomings shortcomings of this franchise being one of the most widely criticized parts for years now, it's going to leave many fans wondering something very simple, which is if the developers still haven't solved the basic performance problems with the mainline games yet, which they haven't, then why is the franchise expanding into yet another monetized platform when problems still exist, you know? What makes the Pokemon Champion situation even more frustrating is that the core idea behind it could have been amazing. An actual dedicated competitive Pokemon hub is something that people have been asking for years. Like, imagine a platform where players could bring their teams together and battle competitively with robust ranking systems. And they could even watch tournaments live through the game and experiment with the strategies that they see, like all inside a very polished and stable environment that is built specifically for that competitive play to thrive. That concept alone, that could have been a dream project, it really could. But instead, Nintendo has made sure that the only thing that works at launch 100% are its monetized systems. Because clearly the items and abilities, like not even the HP of the Pokemon, are not working as intended, as I showed you earlier. And this just brings us to a much bigger issue too, because Pokemon isn't just another franchise, guys. It's the largest media franchise in the world, which means the companies behind it have enormous resources and huge talent pools to pull from, and an audience that desperately wants these games to be incredible, like me. But when a franchise becomes this dominant, there's always a danger that success is just going to breed more complacency, because why take the risks when every release just sells millions anyways, right? Like, why slow down development and take a second to figure out the problems if we're guaranteed profit anyways? This is why the formula doesn't even get reinvented, because it just prints money no matter what. And what I see in Champions is not an isolated case, but a trend, guys. A trend that new Pokemon projects are prioritizing engagement metrics and revenue over just being cool games that people love to play. And that's the exact moment we are in right now when it comes to Pokemon. It feels like the series is losing its creative soul. Honestly, that's what it feels like to me. It's not through like one catastrophic decision, I know, but through like a series of small compromises instead. Like one monetized system at a time, one safe design choice like after another, until eventually the series we all love just kind of no longer feels like the same thing we all fell in love with decades ago. Or decades for me anyways, because I'm old. But the irony is that Pokemon doesn't need any of this either. The brand is powerful enough that a truly ambitious Pokemon game would just like dominate the industry overnight, dude. Like if we had a massive open world to explore and deep competitive systems that just worked out of the box, and it had the modern technical polish that Nintendo is capable of, just go look at Mario and Zelda, and a development cycle that's actually long enough to them to actually just like refine the experience for once. You know what fans have been asking for years and all that? It's what we want, but instead we're all just kind of watching the franchise drift into a car wreck of just experimental projects that feel increasingly like disconnected from the core magic that made Pokemon legendary in the first place. Because when a franchise stops evolving creatively and starts optimizing itself purely for like revenue, which Pokemon is doing 100% by the way, that's usually the moment the magic begins to fade for me. And if Pokemon Champions becomes another example of that, which like right now, let's be real, it is doing that, we might have to face a truth that people are running from. That the biggest franchise in the world might also be the one unwilling to take any risks anymore. And for a series that is built on the idea of evolution, I mean, come on, man, this might be the greatest form of irony ever. Look, I don't want Champions to suck. I don't want Pokemon to implode or anything. I love Pokemon, which is why I'm so annoyed by Nintendo and Game Freak all of the time when it comes to them. It annoys me how they pull all these resources and time to make Zelda and Mario great, but Pokemon is just mediocre now. Maybe Champions will be amazing one day, but how long will that take? A year? Maybe a few? How many battle passes and months of paid memberships and more will people need to buy here before this becomes the game that it was always meant to be in the first place? I guess we'll find out, but let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to, and God, man, I just wish Pokemon got the same attention to detail and polish like Zelda did. If they did that, imagine where we'd be right now. Instead, we have this. Like, what a shame, man.